Good morning, everyone. It's 5:30 a.m. It's the last day of the semester, and I'm going to take you through the morning routine that I've been doing this whole semester. This is about the time, this is the exact time that I would wake up on most days. I have an 8 a.m. class. I've adapted my morning routine in these most recent days, but I'm going to take you through the one that I did for most of this semester. The first thing I'll do is, obviously take a piss, but drink a ton of water, definitely overhydrate. My goal is always to, definitely overshoot what I feel like I would need. Worst case scenario, I end up peeing more throughout the day. Worst case scenario, undershooting it is I'm dehydrated. After that, I go to meditate, which I will show you after I meditate. Then go outside, do some bioenergetics, come back, journal, then shower, put on coconut oil, and go out and do my day. Let's do this. So I just finished my meditation. It was really good. It was a gratitude-focused meditation where I align myself with my heart and prepare for the day. I talk about, in my own mind, 3 things that I'm very grateful for. I tell myself that I love myself. I focus on my breath. And I prime my mental, physical, and emotional state for the day. Now we will go outside, do some yoga, bioenergetics, and you know what? You just watch it. Also, changed my shorts because the ones I was wearing before tend to fall off when I do this routine. Without further ado, let's get into it. I love being outside, man. I go out shirtless, really in nothing but shorts. Normally I would go barefoot as well, but it's a little cold and wet today, just a little bit too much for me to be able to go barefoot and stay out here for as long as I'd like to be out here. Good morning, squirrel. But yeah, I love being out here and just feeling the air and the prana on my skin. Namaste. This is Ferriss Field, the area just outside my dorm. Here I am orienting myself with the directions and with my surroundings. Breathing deeply, taking in the energy of the air around me, and just feeling happy and joyful about the things that are going on. Beginning some sun salutations. I do these to loosen up my shoulder girdle, my neck, and prime my body. Come through to center, create balance. Now I dive through, elongating my spine, pulling again, and then diving down. The goal here is to loosen up my vertebrae after sleeping for so long. Moving side to side to loosen up my side bodies, then coming back up, standing very tall. I feel taller after doing that, by the way. Kicking out my legs to, again, find length in the hips. A little bit of bounce and then some twists. This is to create some fluidity between my vertebrae rotationally. Same thing, only now coming off of the opposite foot. a little bit of bouncing. This is a slight warm-up to what I'll be doing in a little bit. You can hear me making some noises on my exhales. Those sounds are part of the vibrations associated with the bouncing. Bioenergetics, all of this. Opening up my chest and my shoulder girdle more. The goal here is to get very wide and open before I go into my full bioenergetic ground pound routine. Now, I mentioned this later after, but I learned this from Elliot Hulse. Google Elliot Hulse bioenergetics and you'll find his video on this. Okay, so there are a few things going on here that are very important to point out. The first one being I'm trying to find length from my heels and my toes to the top of my head and the tips of my fingers, while still keeping my shoulders away from my ears. Now, you can do this and find length, and then find length at the end, or you can do this and not look for length and end up feeling compressed. Now, I do this exercise to charge my body, to move lymph, to improve my cardiovascular respiratory capacity within the morning. I find my lungs are very tight when I wake up, and so it's nice to really open up this way. In addition, this really just changes your state. I don't know, it's very easy to go from a tired, groggy state to being wide awake and ready to take on the day, focused and alert. Now, you'll see a few things like my belly starting to become looser, and in addition, I'm starting to breathe more fluidly. Now, every time I land, there's an exhale. It goes, and then there's the first round. Now you can tell I feel more grounded. Maybe you can't, but I can. Now, obviously, it's a good thing I changed my shorts like I talked about earlier, but now I'm going to do a little bit of resting, a little bit more sun salutations, I believe. Yes, there they are. Again, just sort of reorienting, calming down, resting in between sets. Now, that exercise does create a lot of compression on the spine, so it is important to do this in between, loosen it up, things like that. Now I'm actually going to transition into some downward dogs, again, getting into the side body. It's something a lot of yogis don't focus on, but it's actually very important to get into the side body, even in what would normally be a frontal plane pose, like a downward dog. The downward dog is also really cool because it hits all of the meridian lines or meridian points within your body. I don't know too much about that, but there are a lot of other people that do, so you could Google it. This also opens up my lats and into my triceps, as well as my heels, calves, back of my knees, my hamstrings, really everything. It also takes a lot of tension off the spine. It's actually an inversion, sort of like an inversion table. If you've ever been on one of those, the goal is just taking weight off my spine. There, I'm strengthening my core. Same thing going on here, opening the chest, side body movement, fluidity, all of these things, just helping balance my body before I go into my day. Opening up the rib cage, the lower belly, helping the low back, coming back through. Once again, charging a little bit, now jumping through to a low squat, where I rest for a minute, and then doing some rotational twists. The key here is to lead from the elbow as opposed to the hand. Those twists help open the spine up even more from a different position, and then coming up. At this point, I'm feeling pretty well balanced. I'd say I'm about 60 to 75% of the way done, but now I'll start again. I like to reorient myself, face a different direction. Feels like a new experience, and then we go from there. Now what I'm going to do here is one leg balances. Now the reason I do this, there are really a few reasons that I do this. One is it increases my ability to focus, actually, I find throughout the day. So balance and focus are two things that you can actually train, both physically and mentally. Now, by doing this, I'll do this in between study sessions or in the morning, and then I find that I'm able to more easily pay attention to whatever it is that I'm trying to pay attention to. In addition, I find that this helps me develop the musculature within the inside of my legs as opposed to just the outside. A A lot of people just bag all their weight into the outside of their legs as opposed to actually using the musculature that goes down through the inner part of the arch and then up through the inner thigh and actually directly into the center of the body from the base. Switching to the right side. Now, on these, I guess you'll call them just one-legged squats or whatever, obviously not a full pistol squat. I'm not trying to round out my spine like you would do in a full pistol squat to get all the way down there. This is much more of a healing practice than a breaking down practice. The goal here is charging, finding fluidity in my ankle, knee, and hips, as well as balance. Kicking out the legs to relieve tension on the hips. Again, breath. The breath is just as important as anything else is in this morning routine. The breath will move the lymphatic system very well. There are some side bend stretches. Now the reason that I'm doing these side bend stretches is because I get really tight there overnight. I find that the side body isn't moved as much as other parts of the body, so it's important to stretch it frequently. See me loosening my neck a little bit, deep breaths, opening the jaw, and now we really get back into it. And there is the full breathing tempo. You see how I work into it. Again, you can see the loosening of tension in the low belly, the expansion of my rib cage. My ribs are very open at this point. Now again, the goal is keeping the shoulders away from the ears and bounding with fluidity and poise in the ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, spine, neck, and skull. Body awareness is very important in this movement. It's very easy to be doing this with one thing out of line, which would then transition to muscular imbalances throughout the body and could lead to pain and compression, just bad things. But doing it correctly charges the body, moves energy through the body in a very beneficial way, and it's actually very quick. I mean, I do that and I feel as charged and dynamically awake as I would after, say, 5-10 minutes of running or something. It's just a very unique exercise, something that works well with the body that a lot of people don't seem to do very often. Again, loosening my spine after all that compression, and now I'm toning the muscles of my back in a loose state while there's no compression on my spine. Here I am coming through. This is something I've learned from some yoga teachers. It's another, I guess you'd call it a pumping exercise, kind of like the bouncing that I've been doing before. Again, moves lymph, again, moves prana, moves energy, and I feel more awake. More twists, again, finding fluidity in my spine. And by the end of this exercise, I feel very loose and fluid, ready to go about my day. Now, I am doing a couple more sun salutations, actually just one. Reintegrating with my gratitude meditation from earlier. Going into some ohms, connecting with the power, the chi associated with my dantian, my lower energy, as well as my heart. This is all about coming within, finding connection with the self, as opposed to letting the monkey mind run wild. At this point, I'm very calm. I can feel the chi flowing through my body openly and fluidly. Much different than the state I was in when I first woke up, if you remember from watching the beginning of the video. I love that routine. Now, I don't do the exact same thing every time. In fact, sometimes I'll actually just run all around this field along with doing some of those exercises. Sometimes there will be more yoga or less bioenergetics or vice versa.
really whatever I'm feeling. To be honest, it's a very intuitive practice. Some of those things I learned from Elliot Hulse in some of his bioenergetic videos. Some of that I learned from my own yoga practice. But to be honest, it's all very intuitive. It's all something that I've just come to know and love. I'm happy to share it with you. Now on to go journal.
Here is the area that I set up for my journaling practice. I have a yoga mat that is folded in half, a pillow that I will fold in half to sit on, a blanket that I like to cover myself with to feel cozy, and over there are my journals. Now, while I journal, in order to sort of knock out two birds with one stone, I also oil pull. So I'll floss my teeth, rinse out my mouth, then fill my mouth with some olive oil. Now I talk about oil pulling in one of my nutritional videos, talking about, I think it's olive oil, coconut oil, and omega-3 DHEA. But yeah, I do that while I journal because, well, at least for a decent portion of it, I'm not saying anything. Now, I'm going to show you my journals first, and then I'm going to put in the oil. Here are the products that I use: EcoDent Gentle Floss and Bragg Organic Olive Oil. The EcoDent Gentle Floss is really good for the environment. That's why it says basically gentle on the environment. Completely cardboard box. You get 3 times as much dental floss. It's mint. I don't know, I love this product. As well, Bragg Organic Olive Oil. Again, love this product. Check out my supplement video if you want to hear me talk more about it. Here are my 3 journals. I have my dream journal on the right, my daily journal in the middle, more of a reflective journal, and my win the day power list journal on the left. The first journal that I write in is my dream journal. Now, in this journal, I reflect on the dreams that I'd had and experienced during the prior night, if there were any that I feel like I received a message from. Now, whether you believe that dreams are your soul traveling to a different state, or your mind organizing thoughts from previous experiences, either way, there's a lot of valuable information that can be not obtained, but realized through your dream experiences. Freud talks about this. I've heard about this from other people. And really, this is another intuitive practice, where if I feel like I'm given a message or an omen in my dreams, I like to journal about it. That way it sticks more. Now, this is my daily journal. I'm getting pretty close to finishing this one. As you can see, I've been journaling. I would say I've journaled 85 to 90% of the days this semester. Maybe even closer to 95. I've been really good about it, and I'm very happy with that. I love this journal. It's wonderful. I actually highly recommend getting a nice journal for your journaling practice because it adds more, value to it. I don't know. I feel like I care more about the practice since I'm using this nice, high-quality journal. In addition, I like to use this journal to reflect upon things that are going on in my day, things that are going on in my life, thoughts. I'll cage the monkey mind, as Tim Ferriss likes to say, but I'll also reflect on my own life experience in a more deep way. And then the Win the Day Power List journal. Now, I'll just tell you right now from the start that Andy Frisella will describe the power list better on his podcast and maybe even on his Instagram, but definitely his podcast, better than I ever will. He has a podcast episode called Win the Day, but basically the way I use this practice, and it's funny, he would get mad if I was doing it incorrectly. So if you're watching this, Andy, just know that I heard you talking about how you don't like people doing it incorrectly. Now, the way that I do this is I write down 5 actionable items for each day, and as I go through those things, I cross them off. Now, at the end of the day, I put a W or an L next to the area where I wrote my 5 things. So it's literally, I'm competing with myself every day. I write down the 5 points that if I get those things done that day, then I will have won the day. This helps me both orient myself in the long term and also make sure that I'm moving forward each and every day. Win the day, win the life. I love this practice, and as Andy will tell you, this will really change your life. He's been doing this for a decade, maybe 2 decades, maybe even 3 decades, and it's definitely changed his life. I'm just starting. I think I'm at about 65 or 70 days in this journal right now. So yeah, I look forward to continuing this practice for a long time. With that, I'm now going to oil pull and journal. I'll see you in 30 minutes. So I just finished my journal practice. It was wonderful. Very happy with the way it went. I am looking forward to this day and to the 5 things that I'm going to get done today. Now I'm going to have some protein, hang for a little bit to relieve some tension or some compression from my spine, shower, put on coconut oil, and get ready for the day. Alright, I'm all showered, covered in coconut oil head to toe, journaled, meditated, bioenergized, fully ready for the day. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you got some value from it. I hope you found a couple things that you could implement to your morning routine. All in all, this took about 2 hours. I know that's a lot more time than a lot of people are willing to allocate to their morning macro work to prime themselves for the day. But, quote by Abraham Lincoln is that if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the saw. Now, I take that same method to my days. So I spend these first 2 hours sharpening my saw. I'm now very ready to chop down the day. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.